Right at the edge of the Kingdom of Morn, where the rugged mountains swept down to the sea, Kira sat on the rocks, moonlight glistening on her wings and her eyes stinging with tears. The rest of the clan always teased her about her wings. They made her feel like she didn't belong. Kira's wings were brighter than all the other fairies. A golden sheen over her wings made her sparkle and glow with eye-catching brilliance. Tonight she'd had enough, and after the first taunt she angrily flew down to the shore. No one else was brave enough to leave the safety of the mountains, so here she was, free from the endless teasing. Kira stared out at the moonlight shimmering its way across the sea into the cove. As she followed it, she noticed that hidden in the shadow of the rocks, there was a little boat bobbing on the water. She watched curiously as two burly men waded up onto the beach, pulling the boat with them. Anchoring the boat securely in shallow water, they hauled a heavy bag out of the stern and dragged it along the stones to a small pony waiting patiently at the top of the beach. The men heaved the bag up onto the pony, and after carefully strapping it to the saddle, they began to walk briskly towards the stony path leading into the mountains. Kira leapt to her feet as she suddenly realised what was happening. Smugglers, she gasped. She knew exactly where they were headed, for the old brandy pad twisted its way through the mountains and was sometimes used by thieves and smugglers. Her heart pounded and her wings trembled. She knew she had to warn the rest of the clan. Kira flew up the pine trees and gorse into the heart of the Morn Mountains. She hovered over to the summit to sleeve-donnered and scanned all around for the fairy clan. Usually she could spot the ring of light from a fairy clan from miles away, but not tonight. Tonight there was an eerie blackness clothing the mountains. The fairies were shy, and if anyone strayed into the kingdom at night, they carefully hid in the dry stone wall that wove its way through the mountains. She was on her own, and she could hear the noise of approaching hooves and hushed men's voices. Calmly, Kira stretched her wings as high as she could and flew so the moonlight reflected off her wings. She appeared as a flickering flame in the misty darkness, and the pony quickly noticed her. Too frightened to continue, it stubbornly reared up. The heavy bag strapped to the saddle loosened and fell to the ground, golden jewels spilling out all over the grass. Angrily, the man pulled at the pony's reins, but it was no use. The pony refused to go any further. Determined to escape, the terrified pony broke free and bolted back along the path to the shore. "Leave it," said the taller of the two men. "We'll have to carry the bag ourselves. We don't have any time to lose. They'll be waiting for us at Tressy's track." And with that, he stooped to pick up the jewels and pack them into the bag. He slung the bag over his back, and they trudged along the brandy pad, following the Morn wall as it traced the outline of the mountains. Kira sped ahead and waited patiently at Hare's Gap. Once she caught sight of the weary man, she stretched her wings. Only this time she twisted into a spin, forming the most stunning, dazzling light. The men stopped in their tracks, captivated by the golden shimmer. Then, as if in a trance, they followed Kira deeply into the mountains. Kira became weak from all the spinning, knew she needed to rest the rest of the clan to try and stop the man. Desperate to find the fairy, she put her fingers in her mouth and whistled. The high-pitched shrill echoed through the mountains, and Kira, now exhausted from her heroic efforts, spun out of control, crashing into the dry stone wall. She lay in a faded, crumpled heap, too tired to notice that hundreds of little lights were appearing from the spaces in the wall. The tiny spinning lights glowed in the misty darkness, and the man, terrified by the unexplained display of light, ran frantically along the mountain track. The uneven stony path caused the men to stumble and fall down the steep slope. They rolled so fast they couldn't keep hold of their precious bag of jewels. Clinging to the grass and boulders, they managed to stop falling and sat terrified on a rocky ledge as their bag continued to tumble down the mountainside. In disbelief, they saw it reach the bottom of the slope and slowly sink into the boggy land just above the Silent Valley Reservoir. Kira lay motionless on the wall, and the fairy clan gathered all around. Carefully, Rosa, the fairy chiefess, drizzled sweet nectar from the yellow gorse onto Kira's lips. As it dripped into her mouth, a warm glow spread across her wings, and she opened her eyes. "Oh, Kira, thank you for being so brave. Those golden wings made you very special tonight," whispered Rosa. Behind her, Kira could see the whole clan cheering in agreement. She smiled and sat up, proudly stretching her bright wings. As the sun rays began to stretch into the sky, the fairies spread along the wall, and within seconds hundreds of fairies disappeared into the crevices between the stones. The golden-winged heroine was tucked away for a much-needed rest. The smugglers, stunned from their fall, gingerly stood up on the narrow ledge, but there was no escape. They were surrounded by steep slopes and loose stones. A local farmer herding his sheep soon spotted the two men on the ledge above the Silent Valley. A rescue was organised and the smugglers were quickly captured. Despite a widespread search, the jewels were never found, but on a misty black night, visitors can sometimes see a flickering flame over the Silent Valley Park, where Kira and her friends carefully guard the lost jewels.